What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm coming to you today with humility, with my tail between my legs a little bit. I wanted to give you an update on a tool that I purchased probably about 3 years ago, and I did a video on it. It was called the CopeMaster, and it looked like one of those awesome tools that was going to solve a lot of problems and make me more productive and make me more money. Didn't end up panning out that way, so I ended up just selling it recently. I went through my whole shop, my attic room above my shop. I got rid of a bunch of tools that I purchased thinking they were going to be great, but they didn't end up being what I thought, or I just wasn't using them, whatever it may be. Sold a lot of them, put that money in the market where it could be growing and actually making me money instead of just appreciating. But the CopeMaster was one of those tools. I took a heavy hit on it, and I kind of wanted to give you guys an explanation on why I sold it, so you don't maybe make some of the same mistakes I did. A couple of the things I found after I purchased the CopeMaster was, number one, for the last 3 years, the vast majority of the baseboard that I install is completely flat, 5 1/4 baseboard with just an eased edge on top, which obviously you are not going to cope. So that right there meant that I already wasn't using the tool hardly at all because I wasn't using profiled baseboard. Now, the other cold hard reality is that if I am installing baseboard that's got a profile, such as this beaded baseboard right here. This is 5 1/4 just with a bead on top. That's a common baseboard right now. Another would be just a very simple flat baseboard with a base cap. The truth about those baseboards is it doesn't take hardly any time at all to cope those because it's just a very, very small section of profile on the top. So you're gonna cut straight down with your miter saw on this flat section, and it's a piece of cake to cope this area on the top. So do you need this gigantic $2,500 machine to do that? I'll let you answer that, but for me, obviously, the answer I came up with was no, it just wasn't necessary. It wasn't saving me any time whenever I factored in the time it took to bring the machine to the job site and set it up. By the way, speaking of baseboard, check this out. I was slicing and dicing yesterday and came across this spot on this board, and it had like this little dead area here, nothing on the other side, but I could see this metal reflection on here. Ended up digging this thing out, and it's a bullet was in the piece of baseboard. So that's pretty cool. Never have had that happen before, but the molder literally just sliced that thing off clean, super smooth. But you can see on the back side here, the round, I have no idea what kind of round it is, but it's got like the mushroomed head, almost like a hollow point. Who knows how old this thing is, but that was pretty cool. I have never found a bullet in a piece of baseboard before, but somebody was shooting, and it would be pretty cool if we could actually know what happened here. But a little dead spot in the tree from a bullet. So anyways, that was kind of cool. So all that being said about baseboard, we're not using it for baseboard. Well, what about crown molding? Will the CopeMaster be effective and make you money for crown molding? Well, the other truth is it takes quite a bit to set up the CopeMaster for crown molding. You have to know the correct spring angle. You have to make your template and go through that whole process, which takes time. So you've got to have a large quantity of trim, number one, to make it worth the time to set up the machine. In most homes, and I do some pretty decent homes, there's not that much crown molding. Even in the heavier homes that I've done with crown molding over the last several years, at most I probably have 500 linear feet, 700 linear feet. That's probably quite a bit of crown molding. Here's the thing with the crown molding. Number one, you have to look at what profiles are you actually coping with your crown molding. For me, over the last several years, it's either been colonial crown, which is super easy to cope, standard full cove crown, which is just a big cove pattern, super easy to cope, or this double beaded crown, which I have here on this house. Not easy to cope, but you can't cope it because whenever you have it in the correct position, the bead comes up past the horizontal plane, which means it's uncopable. So here's the thing that I had to do over the last handful of years, and that is I had to learn, instead of coping my crown, I started mitering my crown whenever I encountered these profiles that couldn't be coped. And what I found was it's actually pretty easy just to miter crown and glue the miters, fit them together. It's really not that hard, and you actually eliminate coping completely from the whole process. So you don't even need this big expensive machine or a coping saw for that matter. So here on this job, I ran a lot of crown, and I just do want to point out all of this crown is mitered and it is airtight. So you don't have to cope even to get great results with crown. I can't get you up super close, but just walking around this house, this is all mitered and was just glued and fit. I used some shims on the underside. I've done videos on this in the past on crown molding, check those out. But you don't need a fancy machine to cope this stuff. You can just fit it, and I resisted that idea for a long time until I had to learn to miter my corners because of doing this double beaded crown profile. But once you learn to miter crown instead of coping it, you can get just as good of results. So I am gonna mention, I do not use a hand coping saw. I use a jigsaw with Collins coping foot, Bosch T244D blade. Excellent combo for coping. So I'm not sitting over a piece of 7 1/4 white oak crown manually going at it all day, every day. If I was, I might be more interested in the CopeMaster, but I'm not. I'm using a jigsaw, and it's very easy on the body, easy to just turn it on and make my cuts. So that's another key reason that even if you're using big, thick trim, using a jigsaw reduces a lot of the fatigue and takes away some of that draw towards the CopeMaster. So all of this being said, if I could go back in time with what I've learned now, you look at the cost of the tool, and this isn't just the CopeMaster, I'm talking about any fancy tool that we see that comes onto the market that looks like it's gonna solve all the world's problems. Look at the cost of the tool. Is it worth that upfront cost? Is it gonna make you your money back? Is it necessary? It might be a lot of bling, it might look really cool, but can you do the same thing with a $200 jigsaw setup versus $2,500 tool? Truth is, you can do the same thing, same speed with this right here. Now, I love the tool, air compressor. So I do love the tool. I think it's a fantastic invention. Just in practicality for someone like myself, it doesn't pencil out. So I wanted to give you guys an update, let you know I no longer have it. I sold it to somebody. They came and picked it up out of state. I put it up on eBay. They saw it, came and picked it up. Lost half of my money on it basically. So guys, I hope this video is helpful. I didn't know if I really wanted to make the video. My goal is not to ridicule the tool or put it down. It's a fantastic tool in and of itself. You just have to weigh, is this thing actually gonna be effective for my workflow? The video is not so much about the CopeMaster, it's about tools in general that we buy. It's so easy to fall in love with these tools that look so cool, they're shiny, make us feel like we're something special because we've got them, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, they're not a good use of money. And at my stage of my career, at my old age of 34 years old, I am starting to realize more and more, I want my money somewhere where it's going to be growing and not depreciating. So I don't want to have tools just collecting dust in my shop because I bought them on a whim or some compulsive decision. And I wanted to update you guys so that you could make maybe a better purchase decision in the future if you're interested in something like that. But also just in general, as a reminder for all of us, don't make dumb tool decisions. Put your money where it's going to make you more money. Put your money where it's going to give you a good ROI. Take your time before you pull that trigger on that tool purchase. So yeah, lesson learned. Just wanted to give you an update. Hope you enjoyed the video.